My dream always was to be in like a Heartbreakers or be like a Mellencamp situation. And sometimes God puts you in a place for a reason. Yeah. And I met Aldean in the very beginning of '99.
I mean, we got to talk about Vegas, and that's, I know you haven't talked about this, so thank you for coming here.
And if it wouldn't have been you, I wouldn't be doing it.
I know, I appreciate it.
A matter of respect. And I can speak for everybody in our organization when it comes to you and your brother. That goes without saying. Hotel in Vegas, play a killer show. We're flying off somewhere. I can't remember where we're supposed to go, but all was smooth, you know?
Welcome to the Good Grief, Good God Show, hosted by Grammy nominee and Emmy award-winning hit songwriter Brad Warren of the Warren Brothers. Join Brad monthly on the first, third, and fifth Tuesdays in audio or on YouTube for raw, honest conversation about surviving things that suck. For today's episode, Brad sits down with hit songwriter, producer, and Jason Aldean's bass player of 26 years, Tully Kennedy. Tully is a 3-time ACM nominee for Bass Player of the Year and recently received his first CMA Triple Play Award for Aldean's songs that he wrote, reaching #1 in a 12-month span. However, October 1st, 2017 marked a pivotal moment in Tully's life. While performing with Aldean in Las Vegas, a gunman unleashed chaos upon the crowd from a nearby hotel room. For the first time, Tully visits about his nightmare experience, its aftermath, and the bullet that remains lodged in his bass guitar. I'm producer Matt Pt1. To learn more about today's guest, Brad, and the show, check the description where you'll find clickable links to access this episode's audio and video links, to connect to the show on social media, and to visit goodgriefgoodgodshow.com. There on the website, you'll be able to access the most up-to-date show information and the back catalog of episodes, plus more. Lastly, we value your feedback, so please hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment or review. On the behalf of Brad's wife and executive producer, Michelle Warren, and segment producer and guest booker, Lisa Bolt, thank you for tuning in. The Good Grief, Good God Show is brought to you in loving memory of Sage Michael Warren.
You got the setup. Nice.
It's all Matt.
Oh, no,
It's not all Matt.
It's all Matt.
The furniture and candles are you.
But that's part of the setup.
Believe me, Matt's part also smells like cigarettes. It's dirty, but it's, I mean, it's,
Take the good with the bad, right?
You take the good with the bad. I mean, it's part of the deal. Charles Kelly was in here the other day.
I'm like, that mic is attached to
How many times did Charles Kelly kick the coffee table the other day? Were you like...
If I would have known he was over here, I would have had to ask him. Remember when the Petty Running Down a Dream DVD set came out?
Yeah.
He was on the row list opening for us, and we're doing the CM2 tour together. And he rode our bus. He didn't ride it. He rode our bus, me and Jason's bus and Kurt. And he took my DVD and never got it back. I said, all the money you made, every time I see him, I said, all the money you've made, and you took my Running Down a Dream.
Did he at least, when he took it, was he broke? Because that is different.
Yeah,
if you took it and lost it all in one swoop while he was,
My Tom Petty Running Down a Dream DVD box set.
That was good.
It was very good.
Shit. I had that box set, and I had the Stevie Ray Vaughan box set with videos in it. How are your eyes? You read?
Now, my left eye is gone now. Do you know that?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, we talked about this.
Yeah.
It's gone?
It's not good. Like, through my left eye, it's like just a black circle. If I look at you with my left eye, it's just like...
I mean, I remember you were having surgery because we were writing right after you got something.
I had like a detached retina on the road, and then they reattached it. But it turns out I've got this like retinal degenerative disease, so it wasn't trauma or anything, you know. But from keeping it attached and working on it and lasering it so much, like it's caused like damage. So it's just, if I look at you, I have to, like, my left eye, I can see a little bit of you, but like it's just like a black circle.
Really?
Yeah, it's fun.
I got a buddy that had got a stroke. You know, he's got a rare blood cancer. It's just straight, and he just has to like infuse himself with blood and whatever. But anyway, he had this little mini stroke, but it took away like half of his sight in one of his eyes. Yeah, and it's not getting. I mean, he's fine of everything but the stroke, but not the eye hasn't improved.
It's weird. Like it's really changed things. Like
driving.
I get a lot of beeping at me.
A lot of treats with age. Although, man, I'm going the other way. I'm cold plunging and sauning my ass off.
I know. I was actually just started trying to lift weights again because I realized I feel like I'm on the road. I feel it's hard because it makes my wrist kind of stiff.
Yeah.
But I told my wife, when I'm off the road, I've got to like do something. I feel like I'm like
You work out on the road, though, right?
Cardio, though.
Really?
Yeah.
You're one of those guys that always looked like you lifted weights even when you didn't.
I used to, but then like it's.
Do you know how skinny I am if I don't do that?
Dude. I did like body weight stuff.
People throw bread at me as I'm walking down the road. It takes a lot of work to look like a normal human for Brett and I. Brett's way big. He's 20 pounds heavier than me on a general.
How's he doing?
He's good.
Good. We haven't gotten together in forever.
I know one of my favorite days in the last 5 years is the day we were supposed to write, and instead, me and you and Brett and Kurtwood played pickleball until literally I had chills the whole day of just fatigue. And then we went, and then instead of writing, we went into a Mexican restaurant and laughed about.
Ate all the carbs back.
Yeah, ate it all back. Tully Kennedy. I get a quote for everybody I have on here. Although obviously we're going to talk about Vegas, I love your path. I'm going to talk about something. We're in the same business. And this always gives in a little music. The quote I had for you was, in the absence of clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to daily trivia until ultimately we are enslaved by it. And you probably wonder how that relates to you guys. But I have seen a million guys in bands, especially when you play for someone successful and you just like robotically do that gig. Mm-hmm. And you just robotically do it and you mail it in and you survive and whatever. And you and Kirk have not rested on your laurels at all. You've always parlayed what you were doing into something more, something bigger, something different. And now I think people probably see the fruits of your labor and go, wow, what a great gig. But you have worked this. You guys you're not just in Jason Aldean's band, you're part of his band. You're part of his sound. You play on his records. You produce records, hit records. You've written a buttload of hit records recently. Congrats, by the way.
Thank you.
You bastard. We're supposed to be slowing down at our age. Yeah. But it's been a great run. But I've always, and I think you and Kurt figured out what Brett and I did early, that if one can slay 1,000, two can slay 10,000.
For sure.
That partnership, but from Amy Johns to Jason Aldean in 5 minutes.
Well, I tell you what, meeting Kurt, meeting Rich, and obviously before them meeting Aldean. When I moved here, my dream always was to be in like a Heartbreakers or be like a Mellencamp situation where you could do that, right? And sometimes God puts you in a place for a reason. Yeah. And I met Aldean in the very beginning of '99, and we had the same goal. Yeah, we wanted to do. And I said, well, I got a guitar player you got to meet. And Kurt said, well, I got a drummer you got to meet. And really, in 5 minutes, it's
really. So that's how all you wound up in the same.
Yeah, it was just I knew Kurt, he knew Rich, and it's hard to do in 5 minutes, but it's just. I say it's destiny.
I mean, it doesn't have to be 5 minutes.
It's destiny with that situation.
Yeah.
We were all very, very hungry at that point, and
Jason had no deal at that point. You just met him.
No deal.
Yeah.
He knew Michael Knox, and he just moved here a day before I met him.
You're kidding?
No, So
that's fate. I mean, or God,
fate.
or whatever.
It is fate.
Yeah.
It is fate. It's amazing. And looking back on those years, learning the business together, learning how to be in the studio together, realizing that we didn't know what we were doing, looking back on it.
Yeah.
And we're still trying to get better. I think that's where that comes from. Like, I think a little bit of us, all of us, think that any moment it's going to end. It was always, the way we came up wasn't overnight.
Right.
It was years. That's what people don't realize about Jason, is that it was 10 years.
Yeah.
We were starving and he was starving, and even today, we're like, when's it going to end? It could be tomorrow.
So. It's funny. It wasn't built in 5 minutes and it won't end in 5 minutes, but I know what you mean. But there isn't a greater appreciation Brett and I used to we always said that we spent half our lives standing in a hallway holding guitar cases, whether it's a Plain Breezeway or a hotel room. And now we do all these corporate gigs. And we used to say, I mean, not even that long ago, like, how long are we going to have to do this? And now we're like, how long are we going to get to do this?
Yes.
It's a completely different take on it now.
We just went and finished the 11th album just came out a couple weeks ago, which is crazy to think.
That's crazy.
Still cutting it in the same old studio. Nothing's changed. It's, 7 guys live on the floor. It is something that we're super proud of.
Did you guys play on his first records?
Yeah.
The early ones? Wow.
We played on the demos. We played on
How much did Michael Knox resist that early? Because being Jason's producer.
It's funny. Michael's the reason it happened. See, Michael took us in when we didn't know what we were doing in the studio, and he said his vision was always to, he told Jason, I wanted to have a Bon Jovi of country music. And
he did it,
which is funny to say that now, but then, it was, I want to do that. So he took us in the old Warner Chapel studio and started figuring out, playing demos and how to record. And when Jason got his deal, Broken Bow at that time was just a small independent, and they liked all these little demos. And Michael's like, well, that's his band. And they're like, well, you can't have the band play it. And Michael's like, well, you have to, because that's the sound. So it was Michael that championed the whole thing. He was the one that pushed it through. The label was trying to say, no, you've got to use, Glenn Worf, and you got to use, Brett Mason, and that's what you have to do, or it's not going to work.
That's amazing.
And so, but that's why it worked. And it's something that we were all super proud of as far as what that led to.
Yeah, because it's funny. Anything we discuss today, I'll have someone on the other side of it, right? So I have session player friends that are amazing. Mm-hmm. Actually, one of my best friends, Jimmy Lee Sloas, bass player, is amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
But the lack of, he would be the first guy to go, man, some people need to go use their bands, because the reason that everyone says country music all sounds the same is because it all sounds the same. Right. And part of that is because the same five guys are writing, playing, and producing everything. And when you take a left turn and it's successful, now you take a left turn and you're not successful, no one notices, they don't care. And they blame it on the fact that you did that. But when you take a left turn and it's successful, I would have thought more bands would attempt to do that. And it hasn't been, you're still unicorns in that way.
I think what's helped us though is in the early days of being demo players, doing it quick.
Yeah.
See, the thing about taking your band is they want to do that. However, that might require 2 weeks of rehearsal somewhere. We still go, and we move quick with Jason. So we'll do 3 songs in a session for a record.
Wow.
And me and Rich, we rarely do more than 3 takes on a song. So it's the band mentality
with the session
player speed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say this. I'll be the first guy to say, everybody does not need to use their band. By the way, it's like saying every artist needs to write their own music. Please, God, don't start doing that. You know what I mean? We don't want that. My favorite artists find the best songs.
Yeah.
But just mixing it up and not doing everything the same way for so long before we switch things up. And it does, there's a sound to his Jason Circus sound like a rock band. It's one of,
what's that magic combination we talk about with the way he sings? The way he sounds when he sings, very cool, very country, but edgy, lets us do that, the freedom to play how we play.
Yeah.
Makes that weird little thing, the Aldean sound, whatever that is, love it or hate it, that's what we do. That's the fingerprint of how we do it. And so we get to take that on the road, and we've lived that dream of being able to do that.
It's the best. Just I can only imagine for you. We've been lucky enough to have a couple things with Jason, and when you hear because we're both rockers. You know what I mean, from way back. But when I hear a song that I wrote a guitar riff for, or I feel and then you hear Jason do it, and it's on the radio, and you feel like you're 20 years old listening to Skid Row. You know what I mean? I'm like, and that is, you know what I mean? It's evolved, and Jason's pretty. He's actually. You guys have been broader than you would seem. You would think, okay, the cool redneck country guy. But it's the rocks part of that. It's just been so awesome for me to just kind of hear. It's kind of led country music down a path that they might not have gone. They certainly weren't ready for it when I was an artist. Let me say that.
Gosh, no, believe me. I mean, it's if you listen to the old stuff now, it's everybody sounds rock now and heavy, but then it was not that way.
Oh, very much like. I was like, are they going to get away with this? Holy shit. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, it was really, I was happy for the whole, what's funny is because obviously I knew you guys from, I think I met you with our old drummer, Angelo, in like 1996.
Yes.
Because I know that, or maybe 97, but I remember you were playing at Tootsie's, I think.
I was on Broadway. That was funny too, because I didn't know any of those songs, So I'm down there, and I remember being down there. And I'd come from, playing in bands up home in New England and stuff, where I was making pretty good money at 16, 17, 18. And I came down here, and I remember playing from 2 p.m. to like 3 a.m. one time at Tootsie. I made like $16,
Hands are falling off. I mean, we never really did that, and it's not like it wasn't like it is now. People that come to Nashville now, you have no idea what it was like when we moved here. It was a ghost town. There were 6 bars open. No one went, and you didn't get paid. You got tips.
Do you remember how no one used to walk down the other side of the street where the wheel was?
100%. I was scared of it. I took my wife into a boot store there when she was my girlfriend. I'll never get over that one. There was like these. It's a long story to why she was laughing so hard, but it was like a scene out of a Star Wars movie when you walk into that Star Wars bar and there's Martians.
Yes.
The people, it is nothing.
No.
It was nothing.
They're making, I mean, those guys, they're making good money down there these days.
They're making real money. At the airport, they're making $500 a day.
I know, it's
like,
crazy.
Oh, that was 2 weeks for us.
I know.
But everything was cheap too, I guess. But yeah, still.
Yeah.
But
not that cheap, but cheap.
Yeah. I mean, depends on how broke you are. I found a W-9. What is it? My tax statement, whatever, from
1099.
1099. When I was married and we lived in Antioch, and she had a job. I guess she had to, because I found my tax form and I made $11,000.
Yeah,
in a whole year
right.
as a married person. I mean, that's terrible. What is it? Behind every successful songwriter or musician, there's a surprise father-in-law. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very, very thin times. I remember sitting with Aldean. We always talk about this, and he had an apartment in Bellevue, and I drive over there. This is early '99, and I remember like we're trying to learn how to write songs, and it's like, you're hungry, I'm starving. We got any money? I had like $2. He had like $2. We had like a pizza, pool our money together to get this pizza. And we talk about that all the time still, because it's a fine line between that and where you end up.
Yeah.
You know, which is a couple of turns in the road, and maybe I'm not far from that now.
Think about it.
Things don't work out, you know?
I love that you still live with the paranoia, because I do too, and I sometimes think I'm the only one. Yeah,
I'm the most paranoid person you're ever going to meet.
Sheryl Crow was in here the other day, and she has the imposter syndrome. I'm like, you? So that means everyone does.
Yeah.
If Sheryl Crow has the imposter syndrome musically, then everyone on earth does. But the truth is, we always feel like my wife has said to me before, you act like you're never going to have another hit. And I'm like, damn right, I act like that. Because you always have had your last one at some point. But you have no idea when
is a streak over, you know, and that's my thing. I wish I could, people always tell me you should sit back and enjoy it more. And I said, I'm too scared to do that. I feel like if I do that, someone's going to blow past us, you know? So yes, at some point I hope to do that.
We're from the same era. We're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
We've even been around the same people, a lot of. I can tell you, I haven't done this perfectly, and I haven't even done it imperfectly, but I have a little bit since losing a child gone, okay, everything's going to end. All of it's going to end. Got to get cool with that. Or, I mean, you know, there's not much choice to me. If I'm going to do this and be sane, I'm going to have to get okay with the fact that everything ends. And it has made me change my attitude about the shows that we do. If you told me I was going to play corporate events as a songwriter for groups of lawyers and whatever, and that I would be the most fun I've ever had, I would have thought you were crazy. Because it's not super rock starry. It's awesome. What I'm doing now and is I don't know if it's changed so much as I've changed, but I just don't like the minutia doesn't move me anymore. I don't care about the in-town politics. I like to make money. That's a good hand-to-mouth thing. I want to do it, but it's not really for the same reasons. I want to do something important. I want to do something that makes people think a little bit. You know, I want to be able to work with my friends and my brother, and a day with you and Kurt to me is like not even work, because I'm like, oh,
I know. I'll find myself listening to songs we've written, and there's a piece of me that regrets sometimes how much I push and how I should be the stuff I really love to do. Like I don't find myself doing that enough, and it's an inner struggle that I have, you know.
It's interesting. Jay Joy said once to me, man, I just think about how I want to spend my day, and that's it. Now, he's not married, he doesn't have any kids. So that is the secret sauce to not caring.
Yeah, and I think you know, I think you have certain goals for yourself that when you reach them, or comfort level, or maybe when you some of the success, I think the pressure of that is what weighs on us.
Totally.
You know, where like, can you do it again? Can you keep doing it? We've been doing this over 20 years, and you know, still trying to push and push and push and push, and it is emotionally fatiguing. That's what I feel anyway. Sometimes.
Hell yeah, and I'll tell you this: it doesn't look like it, but there's a pressure on, and you're in a different spot too, because you're in the band, so you're part of this thing, and to me that looks very like solid. Like, oh man, that would be kind of cool. Jerry Flowers plays for Keith Urban, writes hit songs. I'm like, dude, Jerry, you got it going on. And he's like, yeah, well, there's a pressure to both. I don't get to write enough because I'm not home as much as I want to be. And then the road wears you out when you come home. So there's something to everything. I do feel like this business is kind of becoming a 2-gig thing. Like you need to do more than one thing.
I think everything, we try to do everything. You know, the road's rewarding for us because we've always been part of that sound. So I think we've had that where it's always fun taking that out there. Yeah. But the writing and the producing, and like we have to do it all for numerous reasons. But I love it.
It goes back to the quote that I did though, and I'm not dogging the guy that just slugs it out, but typically in my years of experience, we have a great thing where you imitate our old steel player. I don't know, my mom would just, the guy, and I'm not dogging on him. I haven't seen him in 25 years. I'm sure he's doing great. But the miserable show up to the bus, do the gig, complain about it, go sit on the back of the bus when it's over and play video games, and then go home afterwards. That's what you get exactly what you put into that. I tell
all these young guys ask me advice. They ask me, what can I do to do this? I said, never be the guy who comes home from the bus and all you do is wait for the bus to leave again. If you're that guy, that road's gonna end sooner than you want it to, right? Be part of something, like push yourself. You know, so many people tell us you can't do this, you can't do that. You guys are too rock, whatever. You know, you can't. You know, the songs you're writing aren't commercial. You know, it's like, okay, well, we'll just keep doing it. Yeah. You know, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Keep doing something. we're still here.
Still here. Do it.
So,
yeah. Honestly, it's not like you know, you're not flipping the world off, but there's even for me, different path, different whatever, but we've got a lot of no's, and it's fun for me, even though I'm not even an artist anymore, to watch what's happened since they said you're never going to be able to have long hair and be country or have tattoos, and you know, it's kind of great. It's awesome.
Do you remember that band that me and Kurt and Rich were in, Rushlow? You remember this? I remember the label telling me, well, you've got to wear long sleeves to cover up your tattoos. And look at it now, you got guys like Jelly Roll, you know, out there with, you know, tattoos all over the place. It's just funny how all that changes.
My very good friend Joe Galante, who I love to pieces and is an absolute genius and a mentor in his town, literally dropped us one time because they told me to get my hair cut. And I said, no. And they said, well, you have to cut your hair. We're going to drop you. And I said, okay, drop us. And they did. And they cut my hair, and they did, yeah. And then when they dropped us, I cut my hair because I didn't mind cutting the hair. It was just the point of them. Now that's, by the way, that's me being a dick.
Well, I mean, but look what happens. Like,
there's a reason for everything, and God knows where everyone needs to be for sure. My life has been better. I'm a better human being, and I'm better at anything that I do because I got sober and immediately almost had our first actual hit, and it was like, oh. Maybe I'm not the guy. Maybe I'm the guy behind the guy. And maybe that's okay. Maybe I'm better at that. Now, by the way, the longer and the more sober I get and the tragedy that I experience, I might even be the guy behind the guy behind the guy. I don't care. Like, I'm good with whatever it is. But there's something about like, I'm going to be on the picture, you know, I have to be out front in this. And the letting up of that as time has gone on is very freeing, I would say. To be like, now the work is the work. I'm proud of certain things, but it's not for the same reasons it was before. You start off with you just want your friends in high school to see you on TV. Yeah, that's it. You know exactly. What I mean? And your ex-girlfriend to think that you made more money than whoever she wound up with. You know, and then it goes on. As it goes on, I'm actually into the importance of the work that we'll get into that later. I don't want to start off, but it's funny, you don't set out to do everything. Like, honestly, I certainly did not necessarily want to be one of the guys that wrote Red Solo Cup, and that's what everyone remember. But there you go. Well, it's a platform, and you found controversy where you're not looking for it at all. But it's a pretty crazy path. I think any veteran in the music business deserves. They get my respect. It is hard to be a veteran in this business.
It is. I mean, I think when I moved here, I was 21. And all I wanted to do was, be in the studio. I wanted to be in the studio. I wanted to tour. I wanted to do all of it. And you look back on those years and you'd like, that drive, that flame that burns, whatever that is, in what we have. And I watch you guys do it. You guys, that's what I'm like looking at it now. This career you have your friends and you have with your brother and we have together, and it's impressive to me that we're all still doing this at this level. That means that it's an intangible thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a drive there because it's easy to get pushed out. If you're looking, they'll give you plenty of reasons to get pushed out. They're going to try to push. So
you give yourself plenty of reasons.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much.
That is true. Cause it's okay. So the artist, it's the guy that becomes Jason Aldean, the guy that becomes Tim McGraw. I mean, it's 0.00001. Yeah. But where we are in the business is pretty 2%ish. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy a lot of people show up here and I'm going to do something. So, gratitude for that, like wherever that plateau is. And then, I always say as an alcoholic, like my two fears are losing something that I have or not getting something that I want. Man, I am definitely, you're holding on to like, okay, I've actually had this talk with God recently, which is funny because he obviously doesn't bargain with me, but like this particular song is about to be a single on someone, maybe. If you make that, I want to have to play that the rest of my life at corporate gigs. This is one of those songs. If you make that a number one, I'll never ask about another song. That's just that one. Yeah. He doesn't do that.
He knows better than that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've moved the goalposts on him quite a few times.
He knows better than that. That doesn't know how any of that works.
He knows better than that. Yeah. But I do enjoy, and I mean, we don't see you guys as much as I want to, but that is one of my greatest pleasures is to like be with you and Kurt after 25 years, I guess, or more of knowing each other, probably 25 years, maybe more, of knowing each other and watching each other and just watching you guys do your thing. Oh my God, we were at Universal Publishing the other day and there's this freaking humongous mural of you two and Jason. It's huge. And I'm like, am I being punked right now? I love totally life size.
I love that we can go, literally, I mean, I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
We tour and you got stuff, but when we see each other, it's right back to how it was, and that's those kind of friendships are what, and when you look back on it, makes me really proud. It's like, you know what, those are real friends.
When we got back together with you guys a few years ago and started writing some, I was like, it was the coolest thing to me because first of all, I'm a little nostalgic these days. The losing of a child is one of those things that changes your perspective a lot. I was just so appreciative of the idea that these four guys that literally, you still don't dress like an adult either. I mean, you know what I mean? We refuse. And somehow we've sifted through the bullshit just far enough to come out the other side and see the light. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. And you're right. I don't think it's 0.2% of people that get to look back and do that. So it is.
It's probably way less.
Way less, I think. I feel like.
Everybody in your organization, from Jason, Michael Knox, Kurt, of course, and Rich. I mean, just I've never been like happier. It's funny as you get older, I can actually be happy for other people now. But I'll say, even when it was harder for me, I was always like, it was just like we're from the same class. I'm like, man, those guys are doing it. I was always been happy for you guys, and just love everyone in the organization. I love what Jason's done to music. I love that some people don't like it.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, if everyone likes it, we're doing something wrong.
And by the way, I like things on the other side of that coin that people don't like either. We're supposed to be made a little bit discomfort.
It's music. Like we've always, without meaning to be, it's always end up polarizing somehow, or people are freaking out about something, and that's fun because that's what we do. There's tons of things we've done I'm proud of. We've missed some, of course. We've missed time to time, but I don't think you can have success at this level without being polarizing.
It's kind of funny because you're right. You've had moments. Jason has had moments and I'm like, he's the least chest beating dude out there.
Oh yeah,
not ever standing up, but it's just like quietly, I'm just being who I am, and then inevitably somebody really gets to the core. Like, I don't like who you are.
Well, of course. I mean, and today especially, like, you don't have to look hard for that either.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this age we're in now, social media, and everybody's got a voice behind a phone, on a screen. So
yeah. I just think you have to be able to have like intelligent, objective conversation about things that you don't. My parents grew up next to people they didn't agree with always politically or anything. And they're the best. My mom just spent the weekend with her neighbor who's 90 years old because they need someone to watch her.
It's supposed to be that way. Everybody is entitled to their opinion on something or their thoughts on a subject or political. I mean, that's been that way as long as we can remember. But it certainly never meant that, you couldn't be friends anymore. Or you couldn't,
I do well because I disagree with everyone. Like even the people I agree with, like me and Brett are pretty close on most of it. But the things that I just like, nope, I don't agree with you, man. I like to argue. Like the truth is usually between where I am and the truth.
Sure,
it's somewhere in the middle of that.
Of course,
and then I get halfway there, and then it'll be somewhere in the middle of that. And
see, that's healthy to me though. Like that kind of, it's like writing songs, right? I mean, it's you're not always going to agree with each other.
And some days it's like write something crazy that don't make sense, and the other days you're like, no, you got to do this, or you're not going to have. Some days it's a 3-minute song with 3 choruses and a solo after the second chorus, and some days it's like, no, this is going to be a 7-minute verse, and we change it. We all do.
Yeah.
You change your mind on what it is, and the deal is, if people saw our batting averages, yours is better because you guys are on the road and you don't write 100 songs a year, probably. I mean,
still low.
You would never make the Hall of Fame in baseball with our batting averages as songwriters.
Oh my God. I mean, that's why when you get that hit, now and then, everybody's like, that's amazing. It's like, yeah, well, it makes up for the other 200, that no one's ever going to hear that you spent just as much time on.
And that might be
you
better.
Thought that are probably better.
Somebody, they were doing one of those in Congress things with NSAI, and I saw somebody asking, one of the senators or congressmen asking, well, how long did it take you to write that song? And it was there to someone else. I was just watching on video. I'm like, well, 20 years, like 2 hours, but 20 years. It took me 20 years to move to Nashville, play guitar at a bunch of bars, try to get a record deal, finally get a tour opening for Faith Hill, meet Tim McGraw, play basketball with him, become friends with him, get him to listen to my
basketball.
Stuff.
We'll get there in a minute.
Oh, yeah. We have some. Okay, we got to talk about basketball.
Maybe that's why my neck's never been the same. Now it's coming back to me.
Okay, before we get into serious,
I'm sorry, I shouldn't.
I tell a basketball story when we're doing our corporate gigs because it's funny how did you? Okay, you got all these Tim McGraw songs. How'd you meet Tim McGraw? I'm like, well, starts when we were little kids. We didn't have a TV because my mom we were too Christian for television. And so somebody said, damn it, on TV one time, and the TVs were gone. Never had TV. And so we were super bored. So we did play music, and they did not like the rock music. Well, we'd sneak and learn how to play guitar, and we played basketball because there was a hoop in the front yard. And my mom, who should have been a motivational speaker, would always tell us, you're never going to make any money playing basketball. I don't know why she had to pump that at us. And we knew, but you're never going to make any money playing basketball. So we go along and we sign a record deal. We move to Nashville. We open for Faith Hill. We meet Tim McGraw. He comes in the catering one day and with his gym clothes on, and he's looking around and he's like, you guys play basketball? And we're like, yeah, we play basketball. That day we became friends with Tim McGraw, swear to God. And it kind of, at the end of every day we play, we went to a Y.
See, that's one of those roads I was talking about. One of those little side roads that,
I swear, I think
if
that
you don't
day,
take that side road,
who knows?
But that's
now he does love our songwriting. Now, how he got to hear it, we would sound checked it like, whatever, we're an opening act. He sound checked at noon. And he would be sitting there with his clothes on with the basketball, waiting for us to get done with sound check. Like, you know how patient he is.
Very patient.
Yeah, very patient guy.
Doesn't bully ever either.
Never. Right. I told somebody that he's the sweetest bully I've ever met. He really is. But he would sit and watch us sound check, waiting for basketball, and be like, hey, who wrote that song? So we started literally pitching songs by playing new stuff we'd written at sound check because we knew he'd be hearing. Anyway, years later, after all this stuff with Tim McGraw and all these cuts and a few hits with him, I call my mom. I'm like, hey, Mom, you're wrong. We made a buttload of money playing basketball.
See, that's a good story.
So that's a good story. Yeah. But the truth is, when Aldean was, I say coming up, he was already a star.
This was like 08. This was 08, I'd say. This is before.
We're so old.
This is before it really took off. But yeah.
So we were in Tim's band at this point, right?
Yes.
So Brett and I did 2 tours, 08 and 2010 in Tim's band, and Jason was open in 2008.
Now, and it wasn't fair because we were not sober.
And we all three were at the time.
Yeah, just to be fair, like
nothing was fair. By the way, I've been on the other side of that.
I mean, the amount of abuse we took on the bathroom. First of all, I mean, I'm the worst anyway. But out there against you and Tim and your brother was rough.
First of all, you're like,
outside.
Hey, can we? First of all, you guys, Kurt played. He was really good.
Yeah.
But he had a knee brace because he had a bad knee.
Yeah.
Jason's athlete. He's a baseball player. Good. And you're a general athlete. We called you the bruiser because you would like knock over. But we were that was the only thing we did at the time. We were me and Brett and Tim. And
it was, we had a blast.
So much fun. But Tim would not let's mix the teams up. He's like, no. We're having a tournament for the whole tour.
Me, Brett, and Brad. I was like, okay, another day of getting our ass kicked, you know. But my favorite story about that is like
the pick is what I wanted.
The pick, but the rim was just perfect height that Tim could dunk it. And really, and no one else. I was just under what I could do. Yeah. Obviously. So Tim, it was perfectly set for Tim, and I love Tim. We all love Tim.
We loved Tim. That was the headliner rim.
He would come in though, and I remember in Phoenix, it's 100,000 degrees outside, and we had a few drinks tonight. Me and Kurt and Jace had a few drinks, and we're moving slow, and we're sitting there in catering, and it's about noon or something, and we're sitting there, and Tim walks in, and he's like, "You guys ready to play yet?" We're like, "Tim, just give us, please, 20 minutes.
Hungover.
Just let us eat the sandwich and down a Coke or something. We'll be out." And Kurt goes, "We're almost ready." And Tim takes his finger and sticks it through Kurt's sandwich and goes, "You ready now?" I'm like,
he's like the high school bully.
I'm like, okay, there we go, out another ass whooping in the heat, you know. But that was
oh yeah,
just real quick.
We can't forget the pick
because I don't really know if it was the pick or was it your brother leveling me in is it Houston?
All this, I don't remember where we were.
I do. It was 1,000 degrees.
It was hot.
As a matter of fact, we played there a couple years ago, and I drove past that parking lot
in Houston.
That's where it happened.
Yeah,
maybe
that's where the pick.
I told Live Nation girl, I'm like, that right there.
I took a wallop.
I was on my back. It was
I can say because I wasn't Tim and I wasn't Brett. So there's one day, and I guess. Like you were a little rougher than the average, whatever.
I was a rough because I was the smallest one.
Dude, I was tiny.
Smallest one.
But anyway, Brett's like, I'm going to show Tully how he's going to pick. I'm going to show him how to set a pick. So he said that. So somehow he caught you running full speed.
I didn't have my head up to his. I should have had my head up, but I wasn't playing hockey. To be fair.
Oh, you were playing hockey. You actually were playing hockey.
I was, yeah. Basketball, hockey. Yeah.
So McGraw's over kind of the corner, and I think you were looking at him, whatever. Brett goes up and sets a pick that was more like an NFL block, and you hit him.
I'm going to go ahead and say that was a little bit of a moving pick. Now,
like maybe he was flying at you.
And you guys, to be fair, you guys are strong guys. Like you guys running full speed into your brother was like hitting a wall for me. And I went down, and it was impressive.
You got to be like, what the hell, man? And Brett's like, I can't remember exactly why he set that pick, but he was planning on it before he did it.
Of course he was.
Oh yeah, you said you want to set picks.
I don't know how to set picks. I think that's basketball.
I think it's the only day we ever got like contentious.
Yeah. Well, that was bound to happen.
Yeah,
we're all competitive for no reason.
Play pickup at any Y, any street. At some point, you
play
every
basketball
day.
On a 9.5 something foot rim.
85 shows, probably 85 shows. We play 85 days, not games of basketball because we play 4 or 5 a day. Like 85 days of basketball. So it's bound to happen. And then I'm like, oh man, did we just,
good memory though.
We just get in a fight with Tully? I mean, it's like we've been friends for 20 years and we've never gotten.
No,
that's Brett. Anyway, it's pretty funny. I have funny somewhere around that time. So Jason's a star, but he's not like he is now. But he's a star, and Brett's at the co-op or whatever, like the feed store, place where I never go, whatever it is. Brett's got his truck down there, and he's buying a big like country guy's grill, and he runs into Jason. Hey man, what's happening? Jason's in there, and so Brett buys this big ass grill, and he pays for it, and checks out he's leaving, and he realizes that he can't get the grill in his car, and so he's like, how inappropriate is what I'm getting ready to do going to be? He goes back in and says, how far do you live from here, Jason? Can you drive that grill home for me? Yeah.
And he did.
And he did it. And he did it. And I always felt like, man, I said, Brett, we're never getting a Jason Aldean cut now. Thank you. And then we actually did wind up getting a couple, so he forgave him. But I was like, that's so not okay that you.
That's how Aldean is, though. I mean, even now, he's the same guy.
He's a sweetheart. I mean, just ever and very quiet. Like, and when I say quiet, I don't mean like quiet in a room. I mean, I don't talk to Jason that often, whatever. But like, if I get something from him, it's something that he actually absolutely means. Yeah. He got a super kind soul.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's a tough guy, and not in a bad way. Like he doesn't just blather compliments for no reason. If he says something good about your song or you whatever, you really feel like he means it because it's not just.
No, he doesn't just throw that out there, and that's got a lot of backbone.
I mean, we got to talk about Vegas, and that's. I know you haven't talked about this, so thank you for coming here.
And if it wouldn't have been you, I wouldn't be doing it.
I know, I appreciate it.
The amount of respect, and I can speak for everybody in our organization when it comes to you and your brother. That goes without saying,
I appreciate it. The start of Vegas, I even kind of wanted like the day before, or the day of the show. I shouldn't say the day before, but like
it was great. Actually, the show, beautiful night. Actually, Vegas
3-day thing in Vegas, right?
Yeah,
like a
festival, Live Nation festival.
Yeah, a Bryan O'Connell special.
Yeah, great. I mean, it was the last night of it, Sunday night, I believe, and really, I mean, couldn't have been a better night in Vegas, to be honest with you. It was really nice.
That perfect desert weather.
Yeah, an amazing packed crowd. It was, we were playing that show, and then we were flying off somewhere after the show. Can't remember where we were supposed to go, but
how many people were at that show? It was one of those.
It's huge.
40,000.
Yeah, it was huge, packed, biggest night. I mean, it was really. It was a success as far as that goes beforehand on the sides of the festival and how it was going and everything, So, but yeah, regular show day and sound check, hotel in Vegas, play a killer show. We're flying off somewhere. I can't remember where we're supposed to go, but all was smooth, Yeah, it. Yeah.
And then?
Yeah. We're about...
Third song, fourth song? Or I
think I want to say 5 songs in, maybe. It was a great night. And it was a festival stage. So I remember, the stage set up. I ended up out in front, on the edge of the stage in front of this huge HD screen. We're playing and we're all over the stage and stuff. And I remember playing, and I'm looking down at my hand, and I was looking at, and my hand was all black. It was really weird. I was like, why is my hand black? And I was hearing this little like click, 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 click. And so we have, for people who don't understand, it's hard for some people to understand.
The in-ear monitors really block off a lot of outside noise.
I think that's some confusion with people who don't understand that. It's like we have these in-ear monitors in that's how we hear the band and each other. And so you can't hear anything as far as like the crowd goes or what's up. But we have all this production and video. So I'm hearing click, 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 click. And I'm way out in front of the screen, and I'm looking at Jason, and he's kind of looking like he can hear something like, and our first thought is like something in the video content is like caught or like repeating itself. Mm-hmm. But my hand's all black. It's really,
you mean black like you had
my hand was all, I had no idea what it was. I had no idea what I was looking at. I was just playing and the stuff's all over my hand, which I'll get to that 1 second. I didn't know what it was. And to jump ahead, what it was HD screen was getting shot out. It was glass, fine glass from the screen that and I didn't know that at the time, obviously. And all of a sudden I see Kurt, and I'm way over to the left. And I look over, I see Kurt walking back towards the monitor board, and I see Jason turn around and walk back. And my first thought was the stage is collapsing. Because that's like, in our minds, if you put gunfire on a list of things, that's not even computing for us. For me personally, like the stage is coming down, something's collapsing,
something that's everybody's happened before.
Leaving. Yes, something's leaving. So anyway, I see Jason turn around and leave the stage. So I start walking back and to follow everybody. And I turn the corner.
Is the music? I mean,
we're still playing.
You're still playing.
No,
okay.
Rich is playing. Kurt's playing. We're playing, and we're hearing this, this weird clicking. But again, like we have no idea what that is.
Yeah, people don't know when you put those ear monitors in. What's coming through them is loud, and everything else is almost like not there.
Yeah, you can't hear the crowd. You can't really hear anything. You just hear what you got going on as far as the band goes, right? Which is hard for people to understand that. They don't understand that, but that's how it is. So we're playing, and all of a sudden we realize something's not right. I think me and Rich stopped at the same exact time, which is really weird. And I was walking off to the stage, and all of a sudden it felt like I got hit with like a baseball bat. I thought maybe, the staging had this really thick cabling that holds it together. I thought maybe one of those snapped and hit me, and my whole arm was numb. And all of a sudden our security guy pushes us down behind the monitor board. We got our ears out, and they start yelling, "Someone's firing," or something. And I'm thinking to myself, none of this is computing to me. Our monitor guy, Evan, who now is right next to us, saying, "Well, someone's got firecrackers or paintball or something." It's still not.
You have no idea.
Still not that whole. I remember telling Kurt, Kurt was here and I'm here, and Jason's here, and Jason's wife had run up to be next to him, and I think that's when it set in that there's gunfire. But even then, I didn't believe it. One of the worst things about that point was that we didn't know where Rich was. We didn't know because we had no idea what was happening until we were kind of left, like we were on the stage, but we were hiding on the sides.
So when you couldn't move by the time you figured out that
we're behind.
You couldn't go find people.
No, we're on the stage just behind some cases or next to the monitor board and just off stage. So now you can see bullets raining down, can hear, weird things. And one of the weirdest things was when we realized it was gunfire, I thought at any second there's going to be people running up the back of the stage with guns. We had no idea it was a shoot. For all we knew, it was a terrorist attack, and there's 10 other guys there going to come up with guns behind the stage, right? We had no idea. Our security guy was there by now, and
right then, what's your state of mind? Like I'm thinking like right now, I'm gonna die. Like you think there's a good chance I'm gonna die right now?
That's a good question. Maybe. And that's a good question. I think for sure that's a thought, and it's. I remember thinking, well, surely not. This isn't gunfire. I remember still not thinking this was.
Denial's pretty powerful when you want it to be.
It just doesn't seem. But then you look up, and I could see just raining bullets. It was it was intense. And I remember our security guy goes, "We got to get off the stage," and the bullets coming down, and the whole time I'm thinking my arms broke. My arm felt like it was like something had happened. It was really weird. It was like very strange.
No idea exactly why.
At that point, I had no idea why. I had no idea. It was really weird.
Didn't really have time to care probably either at that moment. Like
no, and I'll get to some of that in a second because it's very strange. But anyway, he pulls us off. Our security guy now, who's he's passed away sadly, but he was at the time Rhino was his name, big guy, and he pulls us off the stage, and now we're behind our bus. And we're behind our bus looking up, and now you can see bullets. You know, he would fire sweeping across the whole thing, and then he'd have to stop and go to another gun or reload. Mm-hmm. And he'd open up on it again, and you could see it was you know, it was intense.
And at the time, I mean, it seems normal. It seems logical that you would think that it's more than one person because you just hear things. People are.
Once we got to the bus, behind the bus, I should say, I knew it felt like it was coming from one area.
Oh, so you did kind of figure out
at that
coming
point because you could see it. It was like right above us. He was the window shooting down, and so it'd stop, and you have to go to reload, or no, they're going to need to start doing it again. That time lapse is weird mentally. You know what I mean? Like looking back on it. And I don't find myself thinking about this very often. It's like the way my brain's worked. It locks it away in some place. Mm-hmm. And I like to think it's there. And then talking to you about it, it'll open up and you start to remember certain things. But it was, yeah, you know, you start hearing, you could hear the bullets hitting people. You could hear, you know, people were getting hit right next to us, and it was, you know, reality at that point had set in fully that this was a shooting, and you know, you have to go there and realize that you've been in a situation that you never thought you'd be in, and you know,
yeah,
so
like change you forever kind of things that you were hearing probably just. Like when you're hearing someone get hit by a
it changes you. I like to think it hadn't changed you as much of it did, but it did.
Yeah,
you know, in ways that you know, not to jump ahead, but I'll never be the same as I was after that. I found. One of the things I found after that is my temper was really short, like with my kids, you know,
really?
I don't know why, just my fuse, even to this day, seems short. I feel definitely more, I've always been kind of quiet and reclusive anyway, more so now.
Really? And
I look back to things, and I think the way that I've kind of dealt with some of this, is that way. I don't talk about it much at all. This is the first time I've talked about it just me.
Really?
Yeah.
You not go to therapy? I know you guys went to group like thing, but you haven't done your own.
You know, they sent out after this was all said and done. They send when
we'll go back to this. By the way.
We'll go back to this.
And
it's hard because I don't want to. I feel like I'm jumping all around.
No. I think it's good to jump back and forth into the thing because I want to get the whole story, but sometimes it comes up. I'm kind of.
But they did send a therapist out list when we went back on the road a couple weeks later. I had a hard time, for me personally, talking to someone about something that they'd never gone through. And I'm not trying to be. I'm not saying that therapy isn't good. I'm not saying that at all. For me personally, like I've never been that. I would like to think that I didn't need it. Right. So that this person that sent out was very, very sweet, very nice. But the whole time I'm thinking, well, how are you talking to me about this.
Let me just validate that feeling, because not only am I in AA, but also I've lost a child. And so I have a group of guys, 20 guys, whatever. And the reason that group started was because I was talking to 2 other dads, and they're like, yeah, we went to therapy. And I said, did you lose a child? And the therapist said no. And I said, see you later.
Right.
You don't have a clue.
Right.
So I think that goes for, that's why 12-step programs work, and that's why things don't work, because if they don't have the shared experience, I'm with you. I am pro therapy, not anti-therapy.
Sure.
But certainly
sure.
hard to get someone to relate to that.
What did help though was we've been fortunate enough. Some of our we have a couple of close friends that were Navy SEALs, like in retired Navy SEAL team, 6 guys. They reached out right away. Super nice friends of ours, and I'm like, man, I'm just having a hard time processing this. And my friend goes, well, you're not supposed to. You're a musician. You're not trained to process what you saw. You were not supposed to process that. And it made me.
You're not supposed to see that.
Not supposed to see that. And that's you can't unsee that stuff. And in dealing with that is you find ways. I find ways,
Being with each other is probably some therapy that you don't even realize is going on. You and the band, Curtain.
1,000,000%. Like, and I'm of the belief, and I know we all are, that God meant to have us there that night.
Sure.
If that was going to happen, if that was what was supposed to happen for whatever reason, that we were the ones that were supposed to be up there, because we've been together so long. Nothing's going to tear us apart. And it's the way that we handled that and had to handle that was because we're so close, and that was what got us.
You can't possibly have that happen and then be around people that didn't experience it too and try to be like, oh, things are okay. But I'll say this, when I was with someone, I mean, maybe for a year after my son died, when I was with someone who knew the story, whatever, just knew that happened to me, I could be normal with them. Yeah. But when I was around someone new, always waiting for it to come up or them not really knowing where my head was, I just wasn't comfortable with them. I'm much more comfortable now when someone asks me how many kids I have. I tell them 3 because I have 3, not 2. And I just say, how old are they? I say, I have 1 in college, 1 high school, 1 in heaven. I say, actually, they're older now, so there's 1 in college, 1 out. But nonetheless, being with the guys that know exactly, that went through it with you, my wife and I, this morning we had just a talk that you just wouldn't have with someone that hadn't been through the thing. So grateful for that. And you guys having each other and not have, you could probably look at each other, not have to say anything and go, okay, I need to let this slide or whatever it might be. Having a bad day? Cool. I get it. I have bad days too. Yeah. Did that happen?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think, one of the, and this is back to Aldean, we get through this. There's so much to that night, and I'm skipping around, but when we finally got home, I remember sitting there, and I want to say we either got home on a Tuesday or Monday night and something like that. And I remember sitting there on the couch in like this fog and this strange fog. And I remember sitting there and I had like a pint of ice cream or something. I just had a spoon. I was just like, just blindly, what am I doing?
Could have been vodka.
I don't know, maybe it was. Maybe. But the phone rang and it was Aldean. And he goes, get your ass up. He goes, we're going to play Saturday Night Live. They just called. They want us to do a cold open this Saturday and talk about Vegas, and we're going to play. Get up. In that moment, that like that's the kind of guys we have. You know what I mean? Like to snap out of it.
That's what you needed right then.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Like, get your shit together, because that's why we were supposed to be up there. Like what am I going to do? Like walk around this fog? I mean, what's that say to my kids? You know, what's that? Look, life deals you blows and you keep moving. Or because it's up to you to do it. And you know that.
It's amazing to me how similar these the reaction to things are, because I had a really big fork, especially being a recovering alcoholic. Like this is going to go south or north. Yeah. And it's like, and you have to, and to be honest, somebody like Jason, knowing that you guys needed that, and you know, it made me so angry when people were like, oh, he didn't, whatever. Yeah,
I'd like to touch on that too at some point. You know, the thing that really upset me the most to this day, and is people saying, you know, well, during the shooting, you know, Jason didn't let anyone know. What kind of coward or person doesn't let everyone go on the microphone and say, everybody, no one knew what was happening. And to think that is irresponsible. To type that is irresponsible. To be in that, you know, I can tell you this. One thing I learned from that situation was I never assume I will handle a situation a certain way until I've been through it. Mm-hmm. Because if you would have talked to me a year before, and there's a mass shooter, I'd been like, oh yeah, well, here's what I would do. I'd do this and I do that. Bullshit. One of my biggest, this is a hard thing to admit, say, but you know, we had a lot of friends there that night. Yeah. Just friends hanging out. Yeah. And Adam Burris is a good friend of ours. He's a ex-hockey player guy, salt of the earth guy. He was at the show, and when we finally got off the stage to hide behind the bus, Adam was next to me. And you know, I'm in this fog. I do remember thinking, what's going on? Like, is this happening? And our tour manager at the time, like, looked around the bus and he goes, guys, get inside the bus right now, get inside the bus. And bullets are coming. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay. I got up and then walked inside around the corner and I left Adam sitting there. And I've talked to him so many times about this, and I said, I can't believe that. I can't believe that I left a very close friend of mine. I didn't grab him by the arm to pull him with me. I just, and like that is a hard, and thank God he's okay. Yeah. But you know, I remember people were getting hit like right next to us, and it's just wasn't prepared or equipped.
You're not
mentally, even at that point, I can't believe I left him there. You know,
I think it's great. It says a lot about you that you care about that. And then of course you got to let yourself. I mean,
well, he says the same thing. He's like, I don't remember it that way, and I said, well, I tell you right now,
someone is dragging you guys because you're the band. You were just on stage. You could be the targets for all they know. So your tour manager's job is to get the band, Jason especially. I've been spearfishing with McGraw enough to know that when they're protecting somebody, he's the guy they're really concerned about. And then they're going to try to make sure we don't get by the shark, but they'll surround him and take a shark bite for the hat, you know. But Jason first, and then secondary, those of you that were actually on the stage and your spouses or whoever might happen to be there. One time we had to fire a drummer, and I talked to my dad was still alive, and I told him I felt so bad and it was killing me. And I told him the reasoning, what we had to do. And he said, I'm glad you feel bad about it. That means you're a good guy, but you still got to do it. Yeah. So just do what you have to do. Yeah. Anyway, it's not exactly like what happened to you, but it's good that you feel like you wish you had done something better. But I have one of my great friends is an Army Ranger. And so like your Navy SEAL friends, they're literally prepared for that. And they train for that, not just physically, but mentally they train for that. I would never try to say what I would or wouldn't do in any given situation because I don't know. I I didn't know how I've talked about it this 10 times on this podcast. I had told God, you take one of my kids, I'm drinking again, you know? Well, I handle that better than I thought I would, because I assumed but there are definitely some situations I would handle worse. I sit there and think, the deering, like so I want to go back to where you guys were behind the bus, but the deering, I'm just like, man, how would I handle that? Like, how's your heart not beat out of your chest? How do you not, I don't know.
It was a very, even talking about it now, it was a very strange thing. It was to the acceptance of it, that it was happening. And then realizing, you know, where's Rich? I can't find Rich, you know, and once we realized what was happening, it was, you know,
gradual too, by the way, right? You probably not kind of knew if something was, and then you pretty much knew, and then you're definitely for sure. And then it
went from thinking, okay, this is paintball or some weird shit, and to, is this happening, to
it's a terrorist attack,
to a terrorist attack, to, okay, this is a shooting. People are dying, and you could hear it and you could see it. And then, you know, and then just getting through that point till it was over, till it stopped. I mean, and then
how long was it? It was like,
it's hard to tell. It felt like a very long time.
I'm sure it felt like days.
It felt like an hour, you know, I can't remember, 10, 12 minutes, maybe. I'm guessing. I don't dig into the specifics of what everybody says, because another thing was like conspiracy theories, and no, there's more than one shooter, and it's like, I was there. Let me fucking tell you, there was one shooter, it was coming from here, and here's what happened. That's one thing I do know. You know, people, I don't know. I try not to get in. I've never read about it. I've never got into the weeds of it.
I would be that way, because it's you don't need to know.
Here's what it is. I mean, you know,
you never got into the, like, chasing the why down. Why did this guy pick this? Doesn't change anything, I guess.
It's like my uncle told me, he goes, you can't stop crazy. You can't try to rationalize with it. Why he did it, how much thought he put into it. To me, personally, never carry as much weight as the 59 people that lost their lives and the families that were affected. Too late to energy spent on try to figure out why someone did that. It's the aftermath.
Yeah.
For me, you know, that's one of the things when Jason called about doing Silent Live, get up, we're going to do it. And then we went on tour 2 weeks later. It's like, of course we're going back on tour. Like, how are we gonna, we survived. Our responsibility is to go back out there. These people lost their lives, their families are affected. The least we can do is go back out and do what we're supposed to do and not let the devil win.
Yeah.
Now, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? But that's one of the reasons I'm sure that we were meant to be up there.
I love that you say that, because I know what you're saying, and I'm just going to say it plainly. Like, there's a friend of mine that lost a kid, and he said, look, God trusted us to be able to handle this.
Yeah.
And that's, some guys don't want to hear that. And by the way, I get it if you don't want to, but you guys were as equipped as anyone was going to, which is not equipped, but still equipped than you were going to handle this better than most.
I will say this, to do what we do, we survived. God wanted us to carry on.
Yeah.
There were hundreds of bullet holes in that stage. I've seen, and the fact that none of us got killed is a.
Well, I don't know if this was, should save it for further in the story, but you have a base with a bullet in it.
So to go back when I thought my arm hadn't know what I got hit with. So
here's a preview of part 2 premiering on Tuesday, April 30th.
When I see anybody having a problem with Jason or his wife or something like that, I'm like, well, You obviously don't know them or what you're talking about. So I might see something, but I didn't. He seems to be very good at being quiet while all the noise is going on.
Because you know what he did after it happened? He went right back out there to the hospital. And he didn't say, hey, I'm going back to he's not like that. He's better than that. Like, he went out there, him and his wife, and visited everyone who was in that hospital, spent time with them.
See, I never heard that.
You know, but that's, to those people, that was everything.
Yeah.
You know? And like I said, Jason's the one that like snapped us all out of it. Like, you know, we're going on a plane. You know, it's so funny. We went up and did SNL, and we did Won't Back Down. We did a petty thing, and some guys in town saying, you know, text me, well, I heard you guys sound better. I'm like, well, you probably have heard us sound better. I don't know.
Someone said that to you?
Oh, yeah.